All that folding? Do it again. All of it. That was my sister-in-law's voice. Sharp, flat, bored, the way someone sounds when they're not even angry, just disgusted. And then I heard the small shuffling sound of my 8-year-old daughter starting over, refolding every single towel in that laundry basket while my sister-in-law's kids played Nintendo Switch 3 feet away. I had just walked through the front door after 11 days away. No announcement. My flight landed 4 hours early because of a connection change and I didn't bother texting. I just drove straight to my brother's house because that's where my daughter had been staying and all I wanted was to hold her. I stood in the hallway for a moment, not yet visible from the living room. And I listened. Slower. You're rushing. My mom doesn't like sloppy towels. My daughter said nothing. She just kept folding. My name is Janet, and if you're watching this from wherever you are in the world, stay with me. Because what happened in the next few weeks changed everything I thought I understood about family, loyalty, and exactly how much I was worth to the people who were supposed to love me. I had been working a contract job out of state. Medical billing compliance. Nothing glamorous, but the kind of work that pays well if you're good at it and I am good at it. When the project extended from 1 week to 11 days, I called my brother and asked if my daughter could stay a little longer. He said of course. He said she was no trouble. He said the kids were getting along great. What he didn't say was that his wife had quietly turned my daughter into the house helper while her own children did exactly nothing. I walked into the living room and my daughter still didn't see me. She was crouched over the laundry basket, face tight with concentration, trying to get the folds even. Her hair was in a messy braid she'd clearly done herself. There was a small stain on her shirt I didn't recognize. And my sister-in-law was standing in the kitchen doorway, watching her with her arms crossed, phone in one hand, juice glass in the other. I said her name. Just once. Quiet. She looked up. Oh, you're back early. What is she doing? Helping out. Kids need chores, right? Builds character. I looked at my daughter. She was looking at me with an expression I will never forget for as long as I live. Not relief. Not tears. Just this careful stillness, like she'd learned not to show too much in this house. I said, "Come here, baby." She came to me immediately. I put my arm around her shoulders and I didn't say another word to my sister-in-law. Not then. I took my daughter to the car, got her buckled in, and drove to a drive-thru because she said she hadn't had fast food the whole time she was there and she really wanted fries. In the car, while she ate, I asked her things slowly, not interrogating. Just asking. And piece by piece it came out, folding laundry, wiping the table after every meal, cleaning the baseboards on her hands and knees because my sister-in-law said the cleaning lady had quit and someone needed to handle it. Being sent to bed at 7:30 an hour before my nephew and niece because she was the guest and guests didn't get to stay up. And not once did my brother say anything. I kept my voice steady the whole drive home. I kept my face calm in the rearview mirror. I did not want her to feel like she had done something wrong or like she needed to manage my reaction on top of everything else she'd been managing. But inside, something had gone very, very quiet in me. Here's the thing about my brother. We've always been close, or I thought we were. He's 4 years older than me, and for a long time he was the person I called when things got hard. When my marriage ended, he was the one who helped me move out. When my daughter was born, he was in the waiting room. He's the person I trusted most in my family, which is probably why what came next hit the way it did. I also need to tell you something that my brother had apparently forgotten. 2.5 years ago, he came to me with a problem. He and my sister-in-law had found the perfect opportunity, a food truck business. They'd done the research, built the menu, found a commissary kitchen, lined up a few events. All they needed was startup capital, about $22,000, because the bank had declined their small business loan application due to some credit history issues on his side. He asked if I could help. I didn't hesitate. I wrote the check. No formal agreement because this was my brother. No repayment schedule because family doesn't work that way. He said he'd pay me back once they were profitable. I said whenever you can. That was the whole conversation. 2.5 years later, the food truck was doing well. I know because I'd seen the Instagram. New wrap on the truck, catering a wedding, events on weekends, a line of people in photos. He hadn't mentioned the money once. I hadn't asked. I told myself it was fine, that he'd bring it up when he was ready. But sitting in my car outside my apartment while my daughter slept in the back seat, I stopped telling myself that story. The next morning, I made a phone call. Not to my brother. To my accountant. And I asked her a very specific question. If someone owed me money and had never signed a formal agreement, what were my options? She walked me through it. There were options. They weren't fast, but they existed. Then I made another call. This one to a lawyer I'd used before for a lease dispute. I explained the situation. He told me that even without a written contract, a documented transfer of funds with a clear stated purpose, which I had in texts and an email he'd sent me with the business plan attached, could constitute a loan agreement. I thanked him and said I'd be in touch. 3 days later, my brother called, not about the money, about the laundry. "Hey, I heard you were upset when you picked her up. My wife said you seemed tense." I almost laughed. Tense. She had my daughter folding laundry and cleaning baseboards. She was helping out. "You asked us to watch her." "I asked you to watch her, not put her to work," he sighed. That sigh I know so well, the one that means he thinks I'm overreacting but he's too tired to argue. Kids need responsibility. It's not a big deal. She's 8, my kids do chores too. Your kids were playing Nintendo Switch. Silence. Then, "Look, I don't want to fight about this. She's fine. You said yourself she seemed fine." "I didn't say that. I said she was home and she was safe." "Those are not the same thing as fine." I ended the call. I didn't explain. I didn't keep going. Because I've learned that explaining yourself to someone who isn't listening is just a way of participating in your own dismissal. I sent the lawyer a follow-up text that afternoon. "Let's move forward." My brother didn't find out right away. It took 2 weeks. That's how long it took for the formal demand letter to arrive, citing the transfer amount, the original email chain with the business plan, and a request for repayment within 30 days or documentation of a dispute. He called me 4 minutes after he got it. "What is this?" "It's exactly what it looks like. You're coming after me for the money? After everything?" "I'm your brother," I said, "and she's my daughter." He went quiet. Then, "You're seriously doing this over towels?" "No," I said. "I'm doing this because you let your wife treat my child like household staff, and when I called you about it, you told me she was fine. And I think you've known for a while that things weren't right over there and you said nothing because it was convenient for you." That is so unfair. Was it convenient for her? Standing on a step stool scrubbing baseboards while your kids sat 3 feet away? He didn't answer that. "I want the money back," I said. "All of it. You have 30 days. I hung up. My sister-in-law called 20 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. She left a 4-minute message that I will summarize for you in 1 sentence. "How dare I, after everything they did for my daughter, after taking her in, after treating her like one of their own, the kids who sat on the couch while my daughter cleaned." I didn't call back. Then came my mom. She called that evening, voice already tight. "What did you do? Your brother is devastated. This is going to ruin their business." I said, "Hi, Mom." "Don't hi, Mom me. Why are you doing this? You have enough money. You have a good job. Why would you drag your own brother to a lawyer over something that happened at his house?" "Because his wife treated my daughter like a servant. Kids help around the house. That's normal. Not like this. You're being dramatic. She's 8. She's not traumatized. She's fine." There it was again. Fine. That word they all kept using like it meant something, like it closed the case, like fine was the same as okay, or loved, or safe. "She came home and folded her own laundry before I even asked her to," I said. "She apologized when she set her glass down too hard. She apologized, Mom, for putting a cup on a table too hard. 8 years old." Silence. "I need the money back," I said. "That's all." She told me I was punishing them unfairly. She told me that family doesn't go to lawyers. She told me that I was going to damage my relationship with my brother permanently, and would I really let that happen over this? I told her I didn't end the relationship. I just stopped pretending everything was fine. Then I thanked her for calling and I said goodnight. The next few days were loud in the way that family drama always gets loud. My cousin texted me privately to say she'd heard I was suing my brother, which wasn't exactly accurate but wasn't exactly wrong. My aunt left me a voicemail about forgiveness and how blood is thicker than water. Someone I hadn't spoken to in 3 years sent me a Facebook message that said simply, "Really?" I didn't respond to any of it. Because here's the thing about family noise. It gets loud specifically to drown out your own clarity. And for the first time in a long time, I was very clear. At the 20-day mark, my brother called again. Different tone this time. Quieter. We can't pull 22,000 out of the business right now. We'd have to pause operations. I understand. So you'd rather we shut down than just work this out between us? I'd rather my daughter not spend 11 days being treated like hired help in your house while your wife's children did nothing. And I'd rather you had cared enough about that to say so. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then, I didn't know it was that bad. I said, "You didn't ask." Another silence. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "I really am. I should have paid more attention." I believed him. I think it was real. But sorry doesn't recalibrate an 8-year-old who apologizes for putting her cup down too hard. "I need the money back," I said, "and I need you to talk to your wife because my daughter is not coming to your house again until I'm sure she'll be treated like a guest, not a helper, not a lesson in responsibility. A guest." He agreed to a repayment plan. 6 months, structured, documented this time. He agreed to talk to his wife. Whether that conversation happened, whether it meant anything, I genuinely don't know, but the agreement was real and signed, and the first payment came on time. What I didn't expect was my sister-in-law's response. Not a call. A post, vague enough that my name wasn't in it, but specific enough that anyone in our orbit knew exactly what she meant. Something about how you find out who people really are when you do them a favor and they use it to hurt you. Something about loving someone's child like your own and being repaid with legal threats. The comments were split. Some people sided with her. Some people who knew us both sent me private messages asking what actually happened. I said nothing publicly. I didn't defend myself. I didn't post anything. I didn't explain. But I did screenshot everything. Because what I've learned about this particular type of person is that they need an audience, and the best way to remove their power is to deny them a reaction. 2 weeks after the post, it quietly disappeared. No explanation, no apology. Gone. My daughter, meanwhile, was quietly becoming herself again. It happened slowly, in small moments I almost missed. The first time she knocked something over and didn't immediately say sorry. The morning she left her art supplies spread across the kitchen table and went to school without putting them away because she'd been in the middle of something and she knew they'd be there when she got back, and somehow she knew that was okay. The afternoon she turned down helping me with a chore because she just didn't feel like it, and I said okay and nothing bad happened. That last one made me cry a little after she'd left the room. Because she needed to know that was allowed. That she could say no. That her energy wasn't a resource anyone was entitled to. We started doing a thing on Friday evenings. Nothing elaborate. Just her picking what she wanted for dinner and us eating on the couch and watching whatever movie she chose without me editing it for educational content or looking at my phone. Just 2 hours of paying attention to her. She started talking more. About school. About a girl in her class she didn't like. About a book she was reading that she thought was boring and why. Real opinions, delivered directly, without looking at my face first to check if it was okay to have them. That's the thing they almost took from her. Not her confidence, not exactly, her permission. The sense that she was allowed to take up space. 3 months after the demand letter, my brother's first 3 payments had come in on schedule. We hadn't seen each other in person. We texted a few times about practical things, logistics. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. It was the strange middle temperature of 2 people who love each other and are still figuring out if that's enough. My mom called once more to say she hoped we could all move past this. I told her I hope so too. I meant it. Some things are worth repairing. Some relationships need time and space and an honest accounting of what went wrong before they can be rebuilt. I believe my brother actually felt bad. I believe he was genuinely not paying attention, which is its own kind of failure but a different one than not caring. I haven't decided yet what comes next with him. I'm letting that breathe. What I have decided is what doesn't come next. My daughter will not be dropped off at a house where the expectation of her is labor. She will not be the convenient solution to someone else's inconvenience. She will not learn that she has to earn her place at any table ever, but especially not at a family one. I get messages sometimes from people in our extended circle. The usual ones: let it go, life's too short, family is everything, and I understand the impulse. I really do. There's a kind of peace in deciding that connection matters more than accountability. But what I've come to understand is that the people who say let it go most urgently are usually the people who benefit most from you letting things go. I'm not angry anymore. That part is true. I'm not walking around carrying this like a wound. But I'm also not pretending it didn't happen, and I'm not acting like my daughter didn't come home a little smaller than she left. She's bigger now, louder. She has opinions about everything and she shares them without apology, and I love it so much it sometimes knocks the breath out of me. Last month she drew a picture for a school project, my favorite place. She drew our apartment, the couch, the Friday movie setup, me next to her with a bowl of popcorn. She labeled it, in very determined 8-year-old handwriting, home. Not my brother's house with the big yard. Not my mom's with the guest room she loves. Our apartment, which is small and has a radiator that makes noise in winter and a kitchen table covered in her art supplies on any given evening. She knows what home is. She always did. She just needed to be somewhere long enough to remember it. That's the whole story. Not everything got fixed. Not everyone apologized. The money is coming back in installments, and the relationship with my brother is being rebuilt one careful text at a time, and my sister-in-law has never once said she was sorry and probably never will. But my daughter put her cup down this morning and didn't apologize. She knocked over a stack of books getting up from the couch, and she just picked them up, totally unbothered, and kept walking. And I thought, there it is. That's the whole point. Not that I won something. Not that they lost something. Just that she's free. And I made sure of it, and that was always the only thing that mattered.